Hello and welcome to this Oak Tree English video on behaviour management. This is a part of the Diploma in Education and Training qualification. In this video, we're going to compare and contrast two theories of behaviour motivation, especially those of Maslow and Skinner. Then we're going to analyse the strengths and limitations of a few behaviour management strategies, notably rule setting, rewards, positivity, and intentionality. In an ideal world, this would be an irrelevant video because all students would behave perfectly with no factors to consider except good pedagogy. However, we teach real people with real, messy lives and a range of human experience. It's important, before we talk about how to manage our classroom, to understand how people are motivated by internal and external factors. Two of the big names in this field of study are Abraham Maslow and B.F. Skinner. Maslow's best known work is his famous hierarchy of needs. This is usually pictured as a pyramid, but is probably better understood as a ladder. At the bottom rung are the physiological needs, which we need to stay alive, like food, air, shelter, etc. Most students will have this need met before coming to class. The next rung up is safety needs, including employment, health, and property. There may be a few students in your career who need help in this category, and mostly this will involve referring them to the well-being department. Progressing upwards, we find love and belonging, which include friendship and family relationships. This could be an issue for some, as they may have come from other countries and just be finding their feet in the UK, or other considerations. The next tier is esteem. This is the respect, status and recognition which most of our students will look for and which we are in a position to give. The top rung is self-actualization, which is something that only a very few of our students will be striving for, depending on what you teach. I guess a yoga teacher or church pastor may come across this felt need more often. But for an English language teacher like myself, this is out of the ordinary. Skinner, by contrast, thought about motivation through the lens of operant conditioning, with a system of rewards, like chocolate. This worked perfectly in rehearsal. One more. Hold on. Like chocolate. Or, okay, we will stop. Okay, go on, one more. Yes! Or punishment, like being squirted in the face with water. No! We didn't rehearse that bit. As a behaviourist, Skinner believed in creating behaviour by positive and negative reinforcement, as has just been demonstrated. In the classroom context, this would be giving awards, privileges, and good marks for behaviour. We wish to encourage, and for behaviour we wish to encourage, and removing privileges and issuing punishment for behaviour we wish to discourage. For example, one student does her homework and always arrives on time, or even early. So you give her a pleasant stimulus, a star award, for example, and remove the aversive stimulus of prescribing her seating plan by letting her choose which group she works with. Another student is consistently late, loud and lazy. Notice the alliteration. In that case, Skinner would remove the pleasant stimulus of their mobile phone and add the aversive stimulus of staying late after class to tidy the classroom. Notice, Maslow would say that all of these stimuli affect the love and esteem strata of his hierarchy. The next consideration is whether those are the strata of motivation which those particular students are working on. For example, if there are safety needs, which causes the late, loud and lazy student to behave in that way, then making them stay after class, thus providing them with a safe, warm place to be for another half hour, will add a pleasant stimulus where you were intending to add an aversive stimulus and have the opposite of the desired result. For a fully effective program, both of these models, and possibly some others too, should be held in tension with each other. The literature on behaviour management strategies, such as Jeremy Harmer's The Practice of English Language Teaching, often gives several suggestions which overlap. I have therefore grouped my suggestions into 4 broad categories. These are just 4 strategies to create a safe and secure learning environment. Others are available for you if these don't work in your particular situation. The strategies I would like to analyse are rules, reward, positivity, and intentionality. In each case, I will refer to the tools of Maslow and Skinner to understand them and identify their respective strengths and limitations. So here are the rules. First and foremost, a classroom, like any society, must have rules. But this doesn't have to be an authoritarian situation. A more egalitarian structure would come at the start of term in a getting to know you class. You could encourage your students to propose a series of bills on certain topics such as mobile phone use or punctuality, and then the class votes on them. Once established, the class manifesto should be clearly displayed for all to see. Maslow would place this between safety and esteem, as it values the students' perspectives. Skinner would see the exercise as a positive stimulus, but would take more interest in what the result of broken or obeyed rules would be, punishment or reward. The strength of this form of rule setting is that it retains an authoritative document, but the authority which it holds comes from the group itself and not the teacher. It also teaches the British value of democracy in a powerful and meaningful way, in tandem with the rule of law. It also sets a powerful precedent that we will start as we mean to go on, to quote Harmer again. It also creates an atmosphere of equality and intentionality from the very first lesson. No rule is without its limitations, however. The limitation of this form of rule setting is that the authority is strongest among those who were at the first lesson, and if later students don't agree, the whole document may have to be redrawn. Also, human nature rails against rules, even ones set by ourselves as observed by C.S. Lewis, which could prove to be the limitation in the fullness of time. So, next one, reward. Well, did you know Microsoft Teams has a feature whereby awards can be given to individual students as a way of recognizing them publicly to the group? Alternatively, I tend to keep a pad of star-shaped post-it notes to give awards for good work or effort or attendance. This public acknowledgement can raise their self-esteem, and I've seen the post-its displayed in pride of place in the students' folders, as if it means more to them than a simple scribble on paper. Maslow would recognise this as fulfilling their need for esteem, which is the level of motivation which most students have attained. Skinner would term this type of reward to be positive stimulus, but might recommend including added freedoms or removed prohibitions as another mode of reward. He might also observe that these awards could be removed or revisited as a form of punishment. What is the strength of this idea? Well, the strength of this motivation strategy is that it recognises the student's contribution, thus raising their standing in the group and in their own eyes. But it also creates an aspiration for the rest of the group to strive to attain their own star award. Madsen and his friends in 1968 showed fairly conclusively that praise is a better motivator than blame. There's the reference at the bottom of the screen, which means I have to go on to the limitations early, but I'm sure you'll forgive me. Now, these are awards. Here's the limitation. These are awards within the group, but they're meaningless outside, thus do nothing to address any other strata of need or have any real-world application. Further, it has the capability to create what Kern, in 2001, calls praise junkies, who crave the approval more than the actual progress. Also, these medals, to quote Jeff Petty after the medals and mission model, more alliteration, must be given sparingly or they lose all value. Their value, much like a Hollywood handshake, is rooted in their rarity. What is a vampire's favourite blood type? Be positive. It is crucial to enter your classroom each day with a positive attitude. I once had a PE teacher who told us that you could do anything with PMA, positive mental attitude. In order to create a positive culture in your classroom, you should use positive language, positive body language, and a positive attitude which will inevitably rub off on your students, if only in that setting. If you let the pressures of the day enter the classroom with you, that too will become part of the group's culture. Maslow would say this positive culture would feed into almost all of Maslow's rungs, from safety all the way up to self-actualization. It would definitely prove to be a motivating factor and a reason to attend class. Skinner's perspective here would be that the culture of positivity would affect a positive stimulus to come to class and to achieve therein. It would also encompass positive reinforcement, such as prizes, rewards, medals, and praise. The principal strength of this culture is the emotion of coming to class. In a culture where most utterances are positive, most gestures are positive, where humour and bonhomie are the defining attributes, you'll find that this is also a culture of success. Where positivity is the constant background, however, it can begin to feel slightly disingenuous. I had some friends who went to a Bible college where the halls just dripped with saccharine-sweet fraternal love and an almost oppressive feeling of goodwill to all men. Though this environment was a delightful balm to visit, it became smothering to live in, and there was a legitimate concern about how well it prepared candidates for life outside its hallowed walls. That is the limitation of the power of positivity. It has to be kept within the bounds of the real world. The final suggestion is another one about creating a culture. Intentionality means doing things on purpose. This includes planning lessons to have a variety of exercises which scaffold the knowledge. Even if students don't know teaching techniques and methodology, they will recognise that they're learning more effectively. It also means starting every lesson with a statement of aims and objectives, that the students know the direction of the lesson. Similarly, it means ending with a plenary session, going back over the aims and checking that each one has been met. This classroom culture creates an environment which Maslow would identify as safe, thus satisfying the second level of need. Once this is in place, a student can move up to the higher levels of need and begin to fulfill their learning goals. Skinner would recognise intentionality as an early stage of the motivation process. In setting a target to be attained, the class creates the conditions for success, which will prove to be a reward when it's reached. The key strength of this strategy is to create an environment which fosters safety and security. The confidence a student feels that a class has been planned and has a definite direction will directly relate to the success that they achieve in attaining those goals. It's rather like playing a game when you know the rules, as opposed to making the rules up as you go. The main limitation of this principle is the tendency to reduce spontaneity. Sticking to a plan religiously can make a teacher less reactive to the individual needs which students can exhibit throughout a class. A plan should be considered a working document stating guidelines rather than hard and fast rules. So, just as I set out my aims at the beginning, let's review them together now. In this video, we wanted to compare and contrast two theories of behaviour motivation, specifically those of Maslow and Skinner, which we did by comparing the hierarchy of needs and operant conditioning. Then we analysed the strengths and limitations of a few behaviour managements, notably rule setting, rewards, positivity, and intentionality, which we saw had high levels of effectiveness at maximising motivation and limitations which can be mitigated at the planning stage. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. If so, please remember to like, share and subscribe to Oak Tree English. Thank you.